Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Paul's Cinema Picks of the Week. I am your host, Paul Westbrook, Brantford's film enthusiast, and today we're going to be talking about a specific actress that you requested at our Cinema Picks page on Facebook. The actress is Drew Barrymore, yes, who's one of my favorite actresses too.
One of mine.
And my sister likes her too, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of Wikipediaing too. It might be cheating to some people, but there's a lot of information that I might not be able to convey to you as I normally would. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convey it to you via YouTube, well, mostly Wikipedia actually. Okay, let's get to it. Drew Bliss Barrymore was born on February 22nd, 1975. And it says here is an American actress, director, producer, talk show host, and author. And she is a member of the famous Barrymore family. So she's been born into a dynasty, a film dynasty, a Hollywood dynasty, if you will. And it says here that she's also the recipient of several accolades, including a Golden Globe Award, let me say that right, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. In addition, she also has nominations for a British Academy Film Award and seven Emmy Awards. And in 2004, Drew received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And yes, she was born in Culver City, California, and her parent is John Drew Barrymore, who is the father, and her mother's name, let me get this here, was Jade Barrymore, and who was born in a displaced persons camp in Brandenburg, West Germany, to Hungarian World War II refugees. And through her father, Barrymore has three older half-siblings, including actor John Bliss Barrymore. And her parents, Drew's parents, divorced in 1984 when she was just 9 years old. And of course, it says here she was born into an acting family. All of her paternal great-grandparents, Maurice and Georgie Drew Barrymore, Maurice and May Costello, née Altschuk, and her paternal grandparents, John Barrymore and Dolores Costello, were all actors. So Drew came from a very well-known family dynasty of actors to become one of the top actresses of her time. In fact, has her own very own talk show today. If you remember, you've probably seen that, Asa.
I've heard of it. I don't have cable.
That Drew has her own talk show. She's a talk show host as well as being a famed film actress. And today I'm going to discuss a couple of the films. Just I've got about 3 or 4 or so of her films here, and I can mention a little more, like maybe in her filmography. I can look through there and see what else she's done, which she's obviously done a lot because she's one of the more famous actresses of the 20th and 21st century. For instance, E.T., as seen here, let me know if you got that, Seth.
Yeah.
E.T., 1982, was Drew's, as far as I know, her very earliest role, certainly the role that I saw her in, when she played Gertie. She was the little girl that was in there with Henry Thomas, who was Elliot in the movie E.T., and Gertie was the little girl that, when she comes through the door, she sees E.T. and she screams for the first time. And that's probably the first thing that I remember seeing about Drew Barrymore in that. And she was a cute little girl. She played in Irreconcilable Differences as well, and Stephen King's Cat's Eye. Yeah, she was doing early films around that time, more or less like a child actress.
And Firestarter.
And Firestarter, yes. The first one, the first Firestarter that she was in. And, yeah, so she did some work for Stephen King. Steven Spielberg, believe it or not, is her godfather, I believe. I remember hearing something about that. Like, Spielberg officially became her godfather. When Drew was young, she used to get into a lot of trouble, mostly drinking alcohol, because it ran like in the Barrymore family, so there was alcohol, drugs, and stuff like that. And in 1989, I believe she wrote a book called Little Girl Lost, where she documents a lot of her her early troubles with the alcohol and the drugs and stuff as she was trying to make her way towards a film career. So she went through quite a bit, and then eventually, as time went on, she straightened her life out, and today she's very, very successful, and one of the best actresses that film has ever produced. And speaking of produced, Drew has her own company, Flower Films, and they actually did the Charlie's Angels movies, which I'm going to be discussing with you in just a second here. But first, before that, I want to talk about this movie here. It's called Riding in Cars with Boys, and it's about Drew playing the part of an actress plays the part of a girl named Beverly, who cannot wait to grow up and get away from her parents, and she gets pregnant at the age of 16 in the movie, the character that she plays. And the baby's father, who's played by actor Steve Zahn, turns out to need more mothering than a newborn son. In a lot of ways, Drew mentions this in a biography, that this was the movie that brought her closer to her mom, because Drew had an estranged relationship with her mom, and this movie, from what the documentary was saying, this movie, when she made it, she became to realize that her mother was a very important influence in her life, and she needed to get close to that again. So this movie helped her reconcile with her mom. Okay, then we have the aforementioned movies, Charlie's Angels. You got that there?
Yep. And
Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, which Drew plays one of the angels in it, and it's a reprisal of the famous 70s TV series, Charlie's Angels. You got Cameron Diaz, you have Lucy Liu, but of course, Drew was my favorite one of the three angels and stuff, and really enjoyed making these movies. This here is a Super Bit Deluxe DVD edition, so there's a few extra special features. It gives you a sneak peek at Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. And you get other ones like featurettes, you get outtakes and bloopers, music videos, and all the stuff that you like to get on most DVD sets. Here I got the special edition, which is the original theatrical version of Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, which is the follow-up to the first Charlie's Angels movie, and it has Bernie Mac as a Bosley. Because Bosley apparently is not just the name of a person like I thought in the original series. Bosley is actually a position that a certain male comes in to help work in the Angels crime agency. So you've got your usual features on here too. You've got a trivia track, you got Full Throttle, the cars of Charlie's Angels, Dream Duds, and Designing the Angels, the look for the movie and stuff. You get a music video starring singer-songwriter Pink, and you get your trailers, you get your theatrical trailers as well. And then after that you get the movie The Wedding Singer. Here's the Wedding Singer one, totally awesome edition, DVD. And you got Drew Barrymore, of course, playing a waitress named Julia. And Adam Sandler plays Robbie Hart. He's a wedding singer, and it's set in the year 1985, so you get to hear a lot of good 80s tracks in this movie. And apparently Robbie gets dumped by his fiancée, dumped at his wedding, so he becomes a cynic. Then he meets Julia, who is a waitress, and she apparently is about to get married herself, but Robbie falls in love with her as she's helping him. So when she goes to get married, he wants to pull off the ultimate coup so he can win Julia himself and spend the rest of his life with her. And yeah, like I said, you get some good additions here. You get mixtapes, you jump to a song, and some more extra footage as well. Okay, getting back to the Wikipedia stuff about Drew herself, and it says Barrymore's godmothers are actress Sophie Loren, who was a famed film actress of the 50s and 60s, and Lee Strasberg's widow, Anna Strasberg. Barrymore says here she described her relationship with the latter as one that would become so important to me as a kid because she is so kind and nurturing. And her godfather, of course, as it says here, is filmmaker Steven Spielberg, as I pointed out. It says Barrymore's first name, Drew, was the maiden name of her paternal great-grandmother, Grandmother Georgie Drew, and her middle name, Bliss, was the surname of the family first used by her great-grandfather, Maurice Barrymore. Oh, actually, okay, I was wrong here when I said 89. It's 1991 when she wrote Little Girl Lost. She recounts early memories of her abusive father who left the family when she was only 6 months old. She and her father never had anything resembling a significant relationship and seldom spoke to one another. And Drew grew up on Poinsettia Place in West Hollywood until she moved to Sherman Oaks at the age of 7 years old. And she wrote a book in 2015 called Wallflower. She said she talks like a valley girl because she grew up in Sherman Oaks. So that would explain a little bit about her way of speaking. And she moved back to West Hollywood upon becoming emancipated at age 14. And there's so much and so forth. She says, a suicide attempt at 14, so if anybody's triggered by the suicide thing, I'm just giving you warning now about that. A suicide attempt at 14 put her back in rehab, followed by a 3-month stay with singer David Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young. Stay was precipitated, Crosby said, because she needed to be around people that were committed to sobriety. Sobriety, yes. Barrymore described the period of her life for Little Girl Lost. After a successful juvenile court for emancipation, she moved to her own apartment at the age of 15, where eventually she started building up her career from there. In her personal life, in 1991, Drew Barrymore was engaged to Leland Hayward's grandson, Leland III. The engagement was called off a few months later, it says, because she was engaged to Jamie Walters from 1992 to 1993. And Barrymore married Welsh Los Angeles barman Jeremy Thomas on March 20, 1994. She filed for divorce from him less than 2 months later. And late 1994, Barrymore began dating Hole guitarist Eric Erlandson, followed by MTV host and comedian Tom Green in 1999. And 1999, she and Green were engaged in July 2000, married a year later. Together they starred in Charlie's Angels and Green's directorial film debut, Freddie Got Fingered. So she does a little bit of a cameo in that movie as well. And Green filed divorce in December 2001, which was finalized on October 15, 2002. And so when it goes through different, when she was engaged to, began dating the Strokes drummer Fabrizio Moretti, and even dated Justin Long. And they broke up in July 2008. They later starred in Going the Distance before breaking up again the following year. That also was a really good movie that Drew did. And I think you've seen that one before, Seth?
What one?
Going the Distance. It's where they have the long-distance relationship.
I think so.
And I remember seeing that with my friends Ron and Christina, and we all agreed it was a really, really good film. And she, 2011, began dating art consultant Will Kopelman, the son of former Chanel COO Ariel Kopelman. And the couple announced their engagement in January 2012 and married on June 2nd, 2012 in Montecito, California. And eventually Barrymore and Kopelman released a statement about their separation because they were... it was I believe it was a reconcilable differences or whatnot. But anyway, it says on July 15, 2016, Barrymore officially filed for a divorce, which was finalized on August 3rd, 2016. And it says here that Drew eats a plant-based diet. so I guess she's a vegetarian. She reportedly convinced Cardi B to try veganism, so she is a devoted vegan, apparently. Okay, now it says honors, awards, and nominations. It says here that when Drew got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, if you ever visit Hollywood, the place to go is 6925 Hollywood Boulevard, where Barrymore's star is on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Trying to find something on her career. And like I said, her film debut was a very small role in the movie Altered States. And of course, as I mentioned, she played Gertie in E.T. And Drew, in the 8th season of Saturday Night Live, Drew became the youngest person to ever appear as a guest host of the series Saturday Night Live. And then she did Firestarter, Irreconcilable Differences. She was in Cat's Eye. They said it here, she was offered a role for Dangerous Liaisons, but it went to Uma Thurman. Barrymore started in the romance film See in the Morning. She also did Poison Ivy, not the Batman villain, but Poison Ivy. She was a teenage seductress. And plays a very bad girl type role. She was in a movie called Gun Crazy, where she plays a teenager who kills her sexually abusive stepfather using a gun. And she played the younger sister of a murdered ballerina in a movie called No Place to Hide and a Writer, followed by what is apparently her evil twin and doppelganger. Both films were panned by critics, of course, and failed to win an audience, so I figured they weren't very good, or, again, I don't like to listen to critics a lot, so I say, if you want to see these films, it's good to just look for a copy, see if you can find it, and then make your own decision. And she was in Bad Girls. Apparently in January 1995, she posed for Playboy. And she was famous for the appearance on the Late Night Show with David Letterman, because she climbed onto David Letterman's desk and flashed the breast of David Letterman and gave him a kiss on the cheek as a birthday present. And she was on Boys on the Side. And then she did Batman Forever. She played one of the female assistants for Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face. And it says here, Barrymore made a brief notable appearance, yes, in Wes Craven's movie Scream. She was the one that was killed. Well, there was a boyfriend that was killed, I believe, and then she was the first female that was actually killed in the film. She played a character called Casey Becker. And she was, and of course, the wedding singer, and she was anthropomorphic Jack Russell Terrier in the Christmas television film All the Other Reindeer. Yes, and she was in Home Fries, where she played a pregnant woman unknowingly falling for the stepson of their late father and her baby, and of course starred in the historical Ever After, which I always called Cinderella with an Attitude. So around that time she established Flower Films with Nancy Juvonen, and the first movie that was produced for Flower Films was Never Been Kissed. I think you liked that movie.
I remember it.
Never Been Kissed. And then in the 2000s, of course, the Charlie's Angels, Riding in Cars with Boys. And she was also in Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. She was in Donnie Darko. 51st Dates, again,
that was a good one.
That was a really good one. She was also reunited with Adam Sandler for that. And, of course, Fever Pitch. She was in a movie called Fever Pitch. Music and Lyrics with Hugh Grant. Really good film. If you liked a lot of the 80s music videos and whatever happened to a lot of the pop stars of the 80s, that was a really good one to see too, because if you like that stuff, then it had a good story, good acting, and of course it had Drew Barrymore, which I always loved to see in a movie. And she was in Lucky You, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, playing a rich pampered Chihuahua pet who gets dog napped and has to escape from an evil Doberman. And She was in Just Not That Into You. Grey Gardens. She was in that movie. And
Whip It?
Whip It was her directorial debut. Yeah, that's the movie she directed, and Elliot Page was in that one. And then we got beautiful to see. Everybody's Fine with Robert De Niro. And then as it goes on, she's blended again. She reunited with Adam Sandler. So Drew is actually to this day one of the most diverse and terrific character actresses of her time. And yeah, that's pretty well what I wanted to get into, because she's done so many films. There's countless movies that she's done, and she exudes so much charm on the screen, and I consider her one of my top favorite actresses. If I had top 10 actresses, Drew Barrymore would definitely be on the top of that list. But for now, that's my look at Drew Barrymore, and I thank you very much. I'd like to get some comments from you, so like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the comment section on the bottom of the video, just below the video here, so you'll be able to write your comments. Tell us what movies of Drew Barrymore's you actually enjoyed, and do you enjoy her show? What do you think of her as a performer? This is the stuff we like to know. So this is Paul Westbrook, Brantford's film enthusiast, saying goodbye for now. And remember, as I always say, I'll be seeing you at the movies. Bye for now.